Devotional. Comforted in the valley of the shadow. Psalm 23 verse 4. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou shalt be with me, your rod and your staff will give me courage. We will all, at some point, go through the valley of the shadow of death, that stage where anguish, fear, and uncertainty seem to dominate. But the psalmist does not declare fear. On the contrary, he affirms with conviction that he will not fear because God is present. In the midst of adversity, God does not abandon us, but gives us courage and hope. 1. The valley of the shadow of death represents life's most intense trials. This valley is not just a physical place, but a spiritual and emotional state where despair, fear of death or loss, and grief seem to envelop us. To recognize this valley is to accept that the Christian life is not exempt from suffering, but it is also the stage where God's faithfulness is revealed. 2. God's presence is the reason not to fear. The central promise of the verse is clear: I will not fear because God is with me. It is not a promise of the absence of problems, but the certainty that in the midst of them God walks by our side. Their company transforms fear into trust and loneliness into living communion. 3. The rod and the staff symbolize protection and loving direction. The rod was used to defend the shepherd and sheep from danger, and the staff to guide and lift up the sheep that strayed or fell. Thus, God not only protects but also corrects and sustains. Their discipline is not a punishment, but a way to instill encouragement, strength, and confident direction in difficult times. Practical applications. 1. When you face moments of fear or uncertainty, remember that God is with you and call upon His presence as your greatest source of courage. Talk to Him and trust His constant companionship. 2. Allow God's loving discipline to guide and correct you, even when it is uncomfortable, because it is for your good and spiritual growth. Learn to recognize His voice in the midst of chaos. 3. Seek comfort in God's Word and fellowship with fellow believers as you pass through dark valleys. The spiritual community is a channel for the breath that God provides. Conclusion. The valley of the shadow of death can be frightening to anyone, but to the believer it is a place of revelation of divine grace and faithfulness. The certainty that God walks with us, guiding us, protecting us, and giving us encouragement, transforms fear into deep peace. May this verse be an anchor for your soul in storms, a constant reminder that even though darkness appears, the light of the shepherd never goes out, and His presence sustains us with steadfast love. Walk confidently, because you are not alone.